What's happening, Ice Cubes? Uh, hi. I'm still alive. I don't know what this hair is doing. It's gonna be bothering me pretty much all day. Probably not. I've been up all night again, obviously. So I wanted to talk about we're this video. I'm gonna talk about stuff that I'm planning for next year. Um, I'm only just now getting over being sick. I know I said in my community post, what was it, yesterday? That I was better. I'm not quite better. My cough is not quite gone yet. Well, yeah, obviously. Mm. But I've been all up all night working on things. Um, uh, so next year, I'm going to be giving every effort next year to make it my bitch. For real, I'm serious. Next year, I'm seriously going to be uh trying to crank out more stuff. I have ideas for what I want to do. I have stuff that I want to be doing. I've had a list of things that I've been wanting to make videos on for months, but I've been kind of in that, like, I kind of talked about this in my community post as well a little bit. My end of year depression came early. Uh so and that's kind of where the loneliness video came from, was me in the middle of my, like, well, there was more to it than just simply the end of year depression, but I talked about a few of those things in that video. There were so many people mad about what I was talking about in that video. I don't care. I'm just gonna say it. I don't care. I That's kind of what I do, is I literally just sit here and espouse bullshit. Like, it comes out of my mouth in dribbles because it's just me speaking my mind. But yeah, like, I'm not an expert. I've never claimed to be an expert in anything. I don't know. So next year is the big goal for my books. I intend next year to finish Act 1. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take me. I don't know if I'm going to take the entire year to work it out. Probably. That's the most likely option. I don't know if it's only going to take me 6 months. I don't know if it's going to only take me 8. I don't know if it's going to take me... I could have it done next month, and you guys would not be prepared. Like, I'm nowhere close to being that done. But, like, I literally wrote my fucking documents. Here they are. I literally wrote an entire scene yesterday. That's like 3 pages long. So I wrote like another 1,000+ words. I almost said 1,000+ pages. That's not true. But like I wrote like 3.5 pages in a Google document. So take what you will for that. I don't know. I was really proud of myself. I got that far. I'm finally introducing another character that I've been working up to get into the story, and we kind of have my main cast all introduced at this point. Kind of, because I don't really have a lot of extended scenes with them all together just yet, because I need to start having them have conversations with each other rather than just with Adrian, because that's kind of been the main focus of the book so far, is them interacting with Adrian. And that's going to be my next challenge, because my next challenge is how they interact with each other. Because Adrian is going to be taking a step back in Act 1 for a huge majority. Like, Adrian's probably only in a third of this book. And that's kind of... There's a reason for that. The reason that Adrian is not, like, super, super, super prevalent, he's obviously a main character, but he is not super prevalent because of the way he teaches these characters. So, like, I might as well just start talking about it. I've introduced Holly into the story as a witch under the Covenant, and they're different than regular magic wielders because they have strict rules. And it's no accident that I based them inside of a church, a chapel. I haven't decided. I've been using those interchangeably. It doesn't matter. But, like, it's kind of a huge allegory for different things, like religious dogma, and how stifling and narrow some of those rules can be, and it's just kind of my little commentary on that. But it's about magic wielders, and not, like, I'm not doing a 1-for-1. So, I don't know. It's going to be super interesting because I'm introducing the Coven, but they don't really play a super big role in Act 1. They play a role in Act 2. 1,000%. There is a massive role in Act 2 that they take up, and it's a not good one. In terms of, for the fate of my characters, it's not a good thing, but in terms for the plot, it's a very good thing. I'm introducing them now so that it makes more sense when they come in later. It kind of sets the foundations of what their true motivations are, and that's what I'm going for. And I'm slowly starting to explore that. But yeah, I'm about to diverge. After this scene that I'm finishing writing, they're about to diverge in 2 separate sequences that I haven't decided which one I'm writing first. I might write Mania's sequence first because we've already had a shitload of Adrian at this point, and having her interact with all these other characters would make more sense. And Adrian's section is not very long anyway, because he's going to speak with Heike again. For the second time in this first almost third of the book. Because I kind of have my Act 1 in 3 different chunks, like 3 different specific chunks. Because there's, obviously this first chunk is, I'm laying my world building foundations. Everything about my universe is being, a lot of the foundations are being laid right here, right there. And it's basically like your introductory, it's your crash course introductory into the world of Mystic Hills. Now, the second chunk is basically their instruction in the mystic arts, because Adrian has a very hands-off approach in how his apprentices learn magic, because magic in my universe is a very the relationship that you have with your magic that you wield in my universe is very intimate. You have to be very in tune with it. You have to learn its resonance. You have to learn how to fully wield it appropriately. Otherwise, it's just going to it's just going to keep backfiring on you. You're going to continue running into problems if you don't it's less of a tool and more of a partner, like a silent partner that you're fighting alongside. Your magic is always there, but it can't really communicate to you the way a normal person, like a normal partner would. So you have to meet it halfway already to try and establish that connection properly. And it's something that I'm going to go into a lot more detail in the book, because I'm going to have Adrian explain everything, because Leon and Zero have no idea how to use their magic yet, whereas Mania, Holly, and Zoe already have prior training. So the three of them are going to be off doing their separate thing, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. So a lot of this second chunk is going to take up Leon and Zero's instruction in not only the Way of the Sword under Hunter, but also the mystic arts under Adrian, because no matter how good you get with the blade, you will never match up to a magic wielder if you cannot also wield magic, because there's all different subsections of different magic. There's the regular offensive types, there's defensive types, there's wards, there's totems, there's talismans, there's infused weapons, and there's tons of different things that I need to explore. That I it's all up in here. All right, I've got it all figured out. Get this hair out of my face. I've got it all figured out up here, and that's for me to know and you to find out when the book is finished. Because it's very much not your average magic system. I've never seen anyone do it the way that I've done it, that I know of. Like, I haven't done a super huge amount of research into different fantasy books. I'm sure it's similar to some other systems out there, but this is just the way it makes most sense to me. And as the writer, I am God, therefore I will will it into existence. Fucking hair, bro. My hair is getting long again. I don't know if I'm gonna let it get any much longer. I may keep it about this length. I have no idea. I've had a couple people tell me that they want it to be long again. I've had a couple people tell me to keep it shorter. Personally, I would prefer not to keep it super, super, super long yet. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. We'll see how I feel in the summer. Because I only did just cut it last year. Off topic. But, yeah, the final chunk of my book, the last third of my book, is going to be centered around Holly, Mania, and Zoe. Their interactions together, their inherent fuck is the word that I'm thinking of. Synchronicity? No, it's not the word. I don't know. They're very in sync with each other, with the way that they all use magic. And the way that Mania wields magic is very different from how the other two do. So she's very much more advanced in magic than even Holly is, even though Holly is already a she's already been thoroughly trained under the Coven, and the Coven have much more strict training regimens with magic than Adrian does, with his very freeform, go at your own pace type of magic. Now, the Coven has very strict sections, and that I've said this before, but they operate under the Covenant, and it's the covenants of the sun and the moon that I will explain in that third chunk that won't get explained at the very start. I'm very much laying out the pieces for you to follow along and piece together yourself, rather than just laying it all out for you right there at the start, because that's way too much information for the reader to absorb at the start. You don't want all of my world building at the start of my book. You want it to I want it to slowly encompass the entirety of the book. Now, there is some extra world building in Act 2 and Act 3, but not nearly as much. It's not nearly as dense as it is in Act 1, because Act 2 and Act 3 I will absolutely operate under the presumption that you've already read the first book. Because if you're not reading the books in order, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? You should reading it out of order out of spite? What are you, an animal? No, I'm just kidding. But words, Matt, words. You're supposed to be good at that. You're aspiring to be an author. But like the sun and moon magics are much more limited in scope than the freeform types of magics that Adrian teaches. Now, Adrian does not adhere to the covenant. He doesn't adhere to any covenant, because there are other covenants outside the sun and the moon magics that will also be explained later. Because it's a very niche belief that the witches study under that has slowly died out, and they're very much a small group. So let me get this out of my way. So the thing about it is, I also forgot to close out of my Elden Ring. I totally forgot it was still open. So the thing is, the way that Adrian teaches magic is very much, it's not completely without rules, but it also is much more, it's absolutely much more wider in scope than almost any other teaching of magics throughout all of my Mystic Hills universe. It encompasses so many more different aspects of magic. Because I've already established at the start of my book that you can wield magic in different elements, but you can also wield magic for healing. There's the elemental magics, there's healing magics, there's construction magics, there's, what is it called? Agricultural magics, I should call it. Like, it's very much a extremely diverse tool that is wielded in a very, I want to say, intimate way, because every person's magic is different, but it is also what kind of connects everybody together, especially among mystics, because while they vary in form, the way that they wield magic is essentially the same. It's why they have different sets of species that I will explore more in Act 2. I haven't even, because Act 2 absolutely dives headfirst straight into the complete dark fantasy setting that I want to go into eventually. But I'm slowly easing you into it through Act 1. Act 1 is very much more a blending of those normal dark fantasy archetypes, like medieval weaponry, magic, and magical creatures and stuff like that. But there's also a blending of modern technology inside of that. But in Act 2, almost all of that is done away with, because in Act 2, I'm just going to spoil it, you literally are transported back to Mystera over 2,000 years ago to witness the events that led to the mystics being exiled from Mystera, the last great mystic war. And there's a whole slew of different information that you're going to learn in that era that you don't know before, and that almost everything is different. Mystera is basically an entirely new world to explain, and it's much more connected with magic than Earth is. I don't remember. Did I point that out? I don't think I've gotten there yet. I think I've talked about how the magic in Mystic Hills is very different to the magic in the rest of the world, on the rest of Earth. No, I talked about how no, it was in this scene with Mania arriving back in Mystic Hills on the bus with Zoe, because they were off traveling abroad for a year. Is kind of the backstory with that. Um, I totally blanked. My brain just gone. I don't know what happened. But fuck. What was I talking about? Yeah, I was in the middle of talking about the last third of my book here. Like, I have a plan for what I want to do with Act 1. Act 2 and 3, I loosely have a plan, but not really, because there's because Act 2 is going to be very Act 2 is going to be kind of a mess a little bit, because it is going to start out somewhat normally. Like, it's going to be very much picking up where we left off from Act 1, aside from the ending of my book of Act 1, because of that super secret scene, the ending that I can't talk about, where my main villains are introduced. So, Act 2 is basically kind of like a complete descension into chaos. Because at the very start, it's going to be very much normal. It's going to be everything is just as it was in Act 1. But then there's a turning point where the truth about Mystera and the last Great Mystic War is revealed, and that Adrian has been lying and not telling them about it. And so things come to a head, and Adrian is basically forced to reveal what happened in the last Great Mystic War. Like, everything that happened during that war. And it's a century-long war that has a lot of different aspects to it that I am going to completely explore. I'm going to explore many, 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 many different moments throughout that war. And that's basically the first half of that book. And then the second half is going to do a lot more with the increase in demon activity around Mystic Hills. It's going to be alluded to at the beginning of Act 2, but it is also going to become a lot more prevalent in the second half of Act 2, which culminates into basically my main antagonist for Act 2, because he's only a villain in Act 2, but his presence has a far-reaching effect throughout the entirety of my story. In the complete picture of my story, he is a very major part. as to how we got here. And it's going to lead into the Battle of Mystic Hills, which is essentially a demonic invasion from Balerion, trying to destroy Mystic Hills. And how that battle goes is basically all of Act 2, is the second half of Act 2. And it's going to have a lot of cool shit in it. I have a lot planned. I have a lot in mind of how that's going to work. It's basically going to be me literally just going completely fucking crazy with how it's going to allow me to test the limits of what my magic system is capable of and what my characters are capable of at that point in the story. Because Act 1 is taking place over the course of several months. And it's all eventually going to culminate in two-ish years by the time we get to Act 2. And Act 3 is going to be the direct continuation from Act 2, which completely turns the whole story on its head. It completely changes your perspective on everything that you've been exposed to in Act 1 and Act 2, and really gives you the full picture of what's actually happening in the known dimensions as a whole, rather than just what's happening on Earth and on Mystera. It goes from this very binary perspective to this multi-dimensional perspective very, very, very quickly. And the first half of Act 3 will be the aftermath of the battle for Mystic Hills, the defeat of my villain from Act 2, the revelation of what Adrian wants to do, because at the end of Act 2, he is basically irreparably injured after to win that fight. To win that fight, he had to irreparably damage himself, and it's crippled him in some facets. So part of it is, I guess I should split that up into quarters then, because the first quarter is the aftermath, the rebuilding, Adrian's crippled state, and Adrian's road to recovery to gain back enough, to recover enough strength to reveal what he's going to be doing next. And the second quarter of Act 3 will be revealing basically he's revealing his suicidal mission to return to Mystera and basically do the same thing that they did to win the battle for Mystic Hills to Mystera. And it's to lull you into the impression that Mystera has become this demonically infested wasteland where demons are running amok freely. The world is completely warped, and it's deformed by Balerion. And while that is true, it's not as true as it's portrayed, is all I'm going to say. It's not everything is as it is. So don't just take it at face value. Now, so yeah, the second quarter will be Adrian revealing his plans for his suicide mission. And it will be the rest of my characters convincing him to allow them to go with him. And eventually he relents, because he can't stop them either. And there's other revelations that I can't talk about in Act 2 that lead into this, and it opens up even more insight into what's actually going on as well. And that second quarter basically ends when they arrive at a specific location that I can't talk about, unfortunately. But the third quarter is Castrum Mythic, which is basically the capital of all Mystera. It's basically the melting pot city, where Castle Mystic stands, and where Adrian wants to get to. To basically try and free Mystera from the grip of Balerion. And there's a lot of crazy stuff that's going to happen in that third quarter. And the final quarter of that book, the ending of my book, is kind of a two-parter, because one part of it is Adrian revealing his true identity. Because Adrian is not who he seems. It's going to be hinted throughout the entirety of my trilogy that Adrian is not who he seems to be sometimes. Because there will be times, there's a lot... The thing about Adrian that I really want to hammer home is duality. There is a very, very big theme of duality with Adrian as a character that I've been crafting for years. I've literally been trying to craft this character for years. So, some of these characters I'm crafting in the moment, in the process. But Adrian is a character that I've had to have figured out, like, definitively. Like, I have notes upon notes of Adrian as a character. It's not in this one. This one doesn't have anything in it. This one doesn't have anything in it. It's in one of my notebooks here somewhere. But I have notes upon notes upon notes of Adrian as a character. But the big theme of Adrian is duality. And you're not really truly sure which side of him that you're interacting with unless it's explicitly stated. And that's something that's it's something that comes to a head in Act 2 when everything is fucked up. Like, when everything goes to shit and a character dies. I can't tell you which one yet. That he really is conflicted with that duality, and he's really confronted with that, with his dual natures. And he has to let one of them win out to win that battle. But what that does is it irreparably damages the other part of him. And it goes to show throughout Act 3, because he very much becomes much more detached. He becomes much more cold and calculating than he was before. It's almost as if he's a different person. It's almost as if he's not exactly who he seems to be sometimes. And that all comes to a head when he reveals his true identity in the final quarter of my book. And essentially, the final quarter of my book is taking the entire trilogy and completely flipping your perspective on its head. And turning it from this very binary, two-dimensional concept into this multi-dimensional, into this array of different multitudes of stories that could be told, but haven't been told. It's all left up to implication as to how many times certain things have happened, how often have they happened, how many different worlds has it happened on. And it also introduces the concept of the prime dimension, which massively changes everything, because it reveals... No, I can't talk about that yet. I can't talk about it yet. I'm sorry. It reveals a very, very different perspective on this story in particular that changes. And if I were to write a fourth book, I have not decided if I'm writing a fourth book yet. I have a document prepared for a fourth book. I have a title picked out. But I don't even know if I'm going to commit to it yet. because I already have enough on my plate to write these 3. By the time I get done with these 3 books and they're finished and published, I don't even know if I want to write the final story that I have in, because an Act 4 would not only cap off the entire series, it would end the entire story. Like, it's the definitive ending. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, the definitive ending leads to Adrian's death. In sacrifice for the ending of Balerion itself. And there's a whole slew of different story points to talk about that and what Adrian's connection to Balerion actually is. But I'm just going to leave it at that. I have a definitive vision for what I'm going to be doing. And I should probably write some of this stuff down so I don't forget it too. But I really doubt I will. I'm extremely excited. I mean, I've been talking about it for almost a half hour at this point. I'm really excited to make more progress. I don't know what the final word count for Act 1 is going to be, but I know it's probably going to be the shortest. My guesstimate is it's probably going to be between anywhere from 40 to 50,000 words, and probably a couple hundred pages. I don't know how many pages this is. How many pages am I at right now? 33. I need to do math. And I'm at 11,000. I'm almost at 12,000 words right now in Act 1. And I'm not even a third of the way done yet. Like, I'm not even finished with my first full third of the book yet. So let's just go ahead and round that out to 40 pages. And I'm going to multiply that by 3. I'm going to probably have a 120-page document by the time I'm done with this book. So if I were to round that out, I would probably say that's 15,000 words per third. It was supposed to be divided by 3, not minus 3. Or not divided by, multiplied by 3. I'm stupid. So it's probably going to be about 45,000 words. Just a guesstimate. Like, an approximate estimate, it's going to be about 45,000 words. Which is... I don't even know. It's going to be a lot of work. I'm basically 4xing what I have right now. Throughout the rest of the year. And it's a very, very daunting task. It took me 2 years to get me to 30,000 words in total. What is my total throughout all 3 right now? I don't remember checking. Or if I did, I don't remember what the was. So the current count is 31,000. It's almost 31,200. Almost. Give or take a couple dozen words. Which isn't bad. The year's not even over yet, and I'm talking about stuff for next year, obviously. So I don't know what number. I would want to try to round this number out to 35,000 and then go from there. Because with the amount that I want to write, I need to be writing at least 1,000 words a week. So I need to be writing a couple hundred words a day. At the very least. Like, if I'm talking about 5 days a week, every week, I need to write 1,000 words. I need to be writing a couple hundred words a day. if I were doing this normally, but we all know that I won't be doing this normally. I've already put in a week's worth of writing, more than a week's worth of writing, just yesterday. So it is definitely going to be, by the time I get done with this year, which there's only a couple weeks left in the year. There's only one full week left in the year, so 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days. So there's 11 days left. Can I hit 35,000 in 11 days? I don't know. I'm gonna try. I'll definitely try. I haven't been writing at all in the past month or two. Like that, I'm just gonna fully admit that right now. Ever since I hit that 30,000 number, I stopped. That extra 1,000 that I added on just yesterday is what got me to 31,000. But I could probably very easily do it. I could just fucking knock it out this over this next weekend if I really pushed for it. Oh god. It all has to go into Act 1 though, personally. Like personally, that's my main goal. I need to stop looking at Act 2 and Act 3 for right now and just focus on Act 1 because it's the only one that I want to finish next year. And I talked to a friend of mine about that, and I'm like, yeah, I need to solely focus on one book. At this point, the reason why I could get away with it before is because I was still very much in the concept stage still. But getting into contact with that publisher, what was it, Flame Tree? Was that the only one that responded to me? The fuck? Flame Tree Publishing, yeah. They were the only ones who responded to me. The other ones never. What was the? No, that's the version of the document. Aethon. I sent a previous version of my manuscript to Aethon. And I'll be talking to more publishers. I definitely want to try and get more publishers interested because I'm actively, like, I have an active goal, like, in mind. By the end of the year, I will have this book finished, no matter what it takes. Even if it kills me, I will have this book finished. Act 1 will be finished by the end of the year. That's my sole primary goal next year. Even if I have to completely abandon content for my YouTube, I will do it. I'll just stop making videos and I will solely dedicate to making sure that Act 1 is finished and polished by the end of this year. Or next year. End of this year. There's 11 days left in the year. Yes, I'm going to write 40,000 words in 11 days. Let's see how long it takes me. I would never accomplish it. It would never happen. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm really fucking excited to getting into more of this. Because what I'm working on, I've been planning writing these books for 4 years. And then I've only seriously started writing since last year. In March of last year. In March of 2023 was when I really started actively writing seriously. And from March of 2023 all the way up until now is how long it took me to get to 30,000 words, or whenever the fuck I did. It was a couple months ago, I think, at this point. Because I didn't say that I hit 30,000 words in a community post. I think I said it in a video, but it was about 2 months ago. So I finished it. I finished my goal in October, and then I went into November and did nothing, and I'm in December now, almost at the ass end of December. It was about midway through December that I started working on it again. So I took a little over a month hiatus on writing, which I earned. Like, let's be real, I earned that hiatus. But I also kind of had a slight mental breakdown with that loneliness video where I almost cried on camera again. I've only had 2 of those. There's the one that I actually cried, and then there's the loneliness video. I still stand by a lot of what I've said in that video, by the way. I don't regret making it at all. I don't regret putting it up. I don't regret having it up. It's... That's kind of just my mindset on my content in general. It's very much uncut, uncensored me. And if you don't like it, then go the fuck away. Like, the gaming stuff is stuff that I enjoy personally, and that I put all of my genuine enthusiasm and fun into. So, I don't know. I don't know. I think I've talked myself out at this point. There's so much that I have planned for Mystic Hills to get it written, and it's already shaping up to be great. I love what I've written so far. I love what I have so far. It's not in the most polished state, but it's pretty damn close. I would have to look over the whole book by the time it's finished to really assert whether or not it's completely polished or not. And that would be something that I would have to talk with a publisher with, because I would have the entire manuscript finished and be like, hey, walk me through this and help me make sure that this is fucking polished, because I don't want to be making a mistake. This is my first book I'll be publishing. Don't let me just fuck it up, okay? Is kind of my stance on it. Yeah. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I'm sorry that, like, content has been so sparse. I'm going to try and start making more stuff by next year. I have stuff planned. I already have, like, I have a Dark Souls 2 video in the middle of being produced right now. I have fucking... It's not what I wanted. God, I have 3 different recording sessions finished. And it's like 5 hours of footage. I'm basically running through the whole game for a mod, the Bearer of the Curse edition mod. And it's been a blast. I've actually legitimately had fun with Dark Souls 2. For those of you who don't know, I fucking hate Dark Souls 2. But the mod makes me hate it a lot less, so. But yeah, again, thank you all so much for watching. If you sat through all of this and listened to my breakdown of my books, thank you. Like, legitimately, thank you. I'm glad that there are some people who are interested already. I'm not really going to talk about it super heavily all the time. I'm going to try not to. I want to talk about it all the time. I'm just going to say that right off the rip. I want to talk about my books all the fucking time. And I know that that can get really, 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 really annoying because I have that singular passion. I have the privilege of that singular passion in my soul for this world that I've created, for this story that I have crafted. But not everybody fully understands that, and I get that. Like, even my best friend, Nick, fucking hates hearing me talk about it all the damn time. He's happy for me that I've dedicated myself to this so, that was a little dramatic. That I've dedicated myself to something so wholeheartedly and that I'm passionate about, but that doesn't mean he wants to hear about it every fucking day. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. As always, I appreciate every single one of you, and I will see all of you next time. Bye!